Hey guys, hi everyone, good evening. Hello Ankit, good evening. Hello Ashu, good evening. Usman, Priyanshu, Govind, Shubham, Pramod, Samita. Hello guys, hi everyone, good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? Good evening guys, good evening everyone. Unable to join from website. I don't know what has happened to my website, but unfortunately I have lost the entire database. Maybe it was because I was working on some other project and tried to update directly with a query, and that has resulted maybe losing the entire database. So there can be some issues because entire database is empty. So if that is the case, please remind me at the end. I will definitely share a attendance link, and we can do the attendance from there only. Okay. So I guess we can start our session. User not registered because entire database has been removed, so you have to sign up again. Okay. So I think students are joining, but unfortunately I can see only 18 people here, which is a very small number, knowing that we have 45 students right now in our project groups, separated, right? Registered, I mean. So I am definitely expecting all of those students to join, so we will wait 1 or 2 minutes for other people to join, and then we are going to start our session. We'll do that. We'll do. It's www.variableverse.com, Govind. You have to register again. Yes. All the students who have registered again, are you guys able to join from the website? I guess yes. Perfect. Great. Okay. So I guess we can start our session now, even though there are only 18 students here, which is a very small number. But I think let's start. Let's not waste our time. Until now, we have discussed a lot of React. We have not just discussed the basics, but we have discussed a lot of things in React, right? We have discussed normal props, we have discussed prop drilling, we have discussed state management, we have discussed different hooks in it, we have discussed class-based components, lifecycle methods, we have discussed use effect hook, use reducer hook, we have discussed refs, forward ref, use imperative design, and all the other things, right? Now we were supposed to start our, what is this called, efficiency, like how to handle React efficiency properly. And for that, we were supposed to discuss use callback and use memo and some other things, lazy loading and all of those suspense. We will discuss that maybe next week. In today's class, we are going to discuss something very important. There has been a new version of React that has been launched, and we know that it is React 19, right? So React 19 has been launched on 5th December 2024. And in this React version 19, there are a lot of new things that we are definitely supposed to discuss. And I'm pretty much sure that there will be a lot of questions that will be asked from this particular article, which is React version 19 and what is new in it. That's what we are going to discuss. We are not going to discuss all of the things, but we are going to discuss the things that we have discussed until now related to React. Is there anything that has changed among that? So, for example, state, for example, we have discussed refs, for example, we have discussed props. Is there anything new in it? That's what we are going to discuss in today's class. There are a lot of other change that has happened, but for that we have not discussed the main topics. So there will be few things that I will leave as of now. Once we will discuss them in our normal React, then we will actually discuss later on what it is, right? So not able to join, it's okay. You can watch the class recording. I will share the attendance link later on. You can mark the attendance later on. But I think a lot of the students are able to join, right? You just have to register, sign up again. That's it. So let's not talk about website now. Let's pay attention here. Let's focus only on our React. Leave it. I will share the attendance link in the evening session, in the next 1 hour. Allow me a second only and let me put a message. Okay, let's start. Shall we start, guys? Shall we start? Shall we start, guys? Give me a quick confirmation. Perfect. Let's start. What is new in React? I will teach you 3-4 things in today's class. And these 3-4 things are going to be one of the most important things in the entire new React that has been launched. Okay. And most of the attention has been given to React forms, honestly, because I have gone through most of these things. There are few still things that I have not, gone through, but most of the things that I have actually studied, most of the attention that React has given to the actions and the state. What do I mean by that? There are few changes. There are few new hooks that have been launched. Number one is use transition, which we are going to discuss in today's class. Number two is use state. Where is it? Where is it? Over here, I think. Use action state is another hook which we are going to discuss in today's class. And there are some changes that we has been implemented on refs, which we are going to discuss. And also we are going to discuss another hook called as use optimistic. So you can automatically understand that how many new hooks are there. Although these were already launched previously in previous versions as well, but they were not that much stable. So now stability has been implemented inside our React properly, and that's what we are going to discuss in today's class. So let's properly start our session. Shall we? Let's start. I will start with a very basic example. Okay. Let's suppose, let me create a very simple scenario here. I am trying to fetch an API, or I am trying to access a data from a database. What will I do? I will simply make a GET request, use a fetch method or Axios, and then in that case, I will simply read the data, right? You might have seen in a lot of websites, there are a lot of websites on the internet. When you try to log in, you write your email, you write your password, you click on that login button until it logs you in, until it makes the request to the database, confirms the credentials, and does whatever it needs to do. You can see on that button either it is disabled or over there it is saying logging you in. Have you seen such kind of scenario in any website? Of course you have, right? I have already uploaded my install the React new version here, and in this particular project, I will try to do the same task, not related to login, but I will try to fetch an API. The first hook that we are going to discuss is called use transition hook. But it will not make you sense unless and until I show you the older version example, then simply replay the same example with a new hook. It won't make any sense if I directly show you what use transition hook is. So I will go back to our normal state, how state works, right? So let's suppose what I want to do is I simply want to fetch an API. Okay. What that API is, let me try to find some API on the internet. Allow me a second. I have a joke API, so let me use the same API. Okay. So on this API, I will try to make a request. And then I will simply try to display a joke. When I click on generate joke, it should simply give me a joke. That's what I want. Now, what do I need to do for that? I always say create a static design first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here and I'm simply going to say H1. This is my random joke application. Please pay attention because these things are very important. And I'm pretty much sure there's no content available on the internet that will discuss these topics right now. Of course, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to put better content than me. But as of now, this is what you will have to bear with. So please pay attention. Over here, I have a button. And this button says generate joke. Okay. Now what I will do is I will simply go here and let me try to start the terminal. So npm start. Okay. What's going to happen? Of course, we will simply have our what is it? Why is it? I think I had the Google Chrome, right? So where is it? Okay, perfect here. So let me start the terminal here, right? And it should be live in 1 or 2 seconds. Meanwhile, it uploads, it triggers it terminal. Let's try to understand what we need to do. Over here, my functionality is very simple. Very simple. That I don't want to generate joke when I click on it directly. But what I actually want is, I want until it makes the request to the backend API and then gets the result out of that. Between that particular time, it should actually give the text loading. Are we able to understand what I'm trying to do? It will give me a joke normally as well. I will define a state, fetch the API, and display the joke. It's very easy. But what I actually want is I simply want that until it actually makes a request to that particular API and it gives me the data. Until then, please display loading on my website. Right? So let's go here and let's try to implement that. So what I will do is this problem that each want watch rather than read document, because when read document I cannot understand. But people say, I of course reading documentation is very good. I will get back to that later on. So what I will do is I will define two states for it. So constant joke, comma, set joke is equals to use state. Then over here, by default, it will be an null or whatever you want initialize it with, because I know it's going to be an object when I later on update it with. Second thing is I will define simply is loading a state. So is loading, comma, then set my is loading like this. Done. And then is equals to use state. This another, and by default, let me make it false. And now over here, I will simply try to fetch my API. So what am I going to do? I'm simply going to say constant. Let me define a function which is going to be fetch joke like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Okay. In which I will not try to make is loading true or all of these things. I will try to keep it simple. But as of now, let me simply go and try to write. Let me implement try catch right now for your better understanding. Try catch is a blog which will execute this particular code. If it works, well and good. If not, in that case, it will try to catch the error. So a good developer is always going to implement try catch whenever they are going to perform any operation, especially asynchronous operation, when you are not sure what's going to happen. In that case, make sure that this particular block does not crash your entire application. So put your code in try catch. Even if you don't put it in try catch, it's still going to work. But in most of the cases, make sure you put it in try catch. Let me go here and let me try to make it async, since I have to fetch an API. After that, let me try to go and define a variable response. Okay, is equals to await what? Await, please try to fetch. What are we going to fetch? We are going to fetch the joke API. Now I know when I make a fetch request on this, a get request on this, it's going to resolve the promise and I will get the data out of it. And that data looks like this. And finally, what I'm going to do, let me try to add this point of time, simply console my data. Perfectly fine. And after that, I will simply go on my button. I will simply tell it on click, please fetch the joke. As of now, I'm not discussing anything related to React 19. I'm just trying to show you a simple example here. Now over here in this case, if I try to refresh my page, go to the inspect tool and go to the console, and when I click on generate joke, I can clearly see it gives me an object. But do you see there's a lag in this response, the console that I'm getting? Guys, are we able to visualize that when I click it on generate joke, it does not immediately give me the object, but there's a small amount of time it takes, which is obvious that when you try to fetch an API, it is going to take some time over there. Normal, right? Now what I want is until it fetches this, I want it to display a loading text. This is what my intention is. So for that, what I will do is I will simply write my code. What? Hey, instead of saying generate joke here, I would simply want you, if my is loading is true, if my is loading is true, in that particular case, simply put a text on this which is loading like this. Otherwise, simply say get a joke. Normal. Get a joke. Or instead of this as well, if you don't want loading sign on a button, you want it to be displayed directly there on the text, I will simply say if is loading is true, in that particular case, please say and then in that particular case, in a p tag, I would want you to simply say loading fetching joke, whatever you want to display, fetching joke. Done. Now as of now, I know is loading is false. That's why if I go here, you can clearly see, as if I refresh my page, over there is loading is false. It is saying me getting a joke, and then it is not displaying this. Why? Because this is not true, it's false. Perfect. Now what I will do is I will simply go here in this fetch joke. I will tell it, hey, when you try to fetch this, do one thing. When you are trying to fetch this particular data, immediately at that point of time, make it true. Are we able to understand what I'm trying to do? when it is trying to make a fetch request at that point of time, make it true. Then once this entire block ends at that point of time, again make it false. So set is loading to false. So can I say this set is loading is true only until it actually fetches the data from the API? Can I say that? I need a quick confirmation in the chat. Yes or no? I need a quick confirmation in the chat. Can I say that is loading is becoming true only for that small period of time? Of course, yes. Right? Now over here, if I try to go to my output and if I try to refresh my page, click on get a joke, you can clearly see it is displaying me a loading text, but only for a small amount of time until I get a data from that API. Right? Now I can simply display the data as well if I want. It's completely up to me. What I can do is I can simply go here and tell it, instead of consoling the data, set my joke to my data that I actually have. Perfectly fine. After that, over here inside this, my rendering return, I will simply tell it, hey, create a div. Right? And in this div, simply display h1. And in this h1, I would simply want to display what? Data dot setup. Like this. Although it's not data, it's joke.setup. And if I try to go to my output now, although it says cannot read the property setup, so I have to see what my data is. So in this case also, one very important point, you can see by default I have started my joke with a null. So when the component will be mounted, it will try to see joke.setup. So null, there's no setup. So even this h1 has to be rendered conditionally. So I will simply go here and I will simply tell it, hey, display this entire div only under one condition, when joke is there. So if joke is true in that particular case, and then only display me this div. I hope this also makes sense because we have seen this multiple times. So now if I refresh my page and if I click on get a joke, you can clearly see for that amount of time, the API is getting the data, giving me the data for that amount of time. It's giving me loading and then giving me the data. This is normal how we used to do it earlier with our React, right? Similarly, I can go here and I can display the same h1 with a punchline as well so that I can get a complete joke. But it's not about joke, it's about understanding the concept. So let me go here and let me try to refresh my page. You can clearly see when I click on get joke, it says loading, fetching joke, and giving me this. Now, why have I implemented this loading, fetching a joke? Because it makes my user interface better. And you see in most of the websites on the internet, this kind of feature is almost everywhere. Yes or no? Right? When you click on login, until it goes, makes a query to the database, compares the credentials, properly authenticates it, there on the button it says logging you in, something like that. You might have seen it, of course, right? So these kind of behaviors are our necessity. Like, and until now, whenever we were supposed to implement such kind of design, in that particular case, we needed a state is loading extra, so that is loading can be made true for that amount of time until I get data out of it. And then for that amount of time, I used to display loading or fetching joke, whatever I want to display. Right? But now there's a change. In React 19, React people know that this kind of behavior is implemented in lot of components in React. Like where you are supposed to perform an asynchronous operation, and it is definitely going to take some time. And for that time, you are supposedly wanting to display some other UI, like loading, signing you, and so on and so forth. Are these kind of behaviors, required in my web applications, guys? Like until it actually fetches the data, until then display some other UI? Of course, it's very important. It's always there. For this, there is the first hook that React 19 gave us, made stable, which is called a useTransition. So React gave me a hook, and that is called useTransition. Now, useTransitions, this is one of the most important use case of useTransition hook. What does it do? It actually allows me to mark some updates as low priority, first of all. What does that mean? I will come to it. Second thing, according to this application that I have, I know there is a state which is supposed to be true for this amount of time. Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. According to this logic, I know that this particular state is supposed to be true for this amount of time. By this amount of time, I mean until it gets the joke out of my API. Now React says, why don't I myself give you a feature that will make it automatically true until it gets you the data? And that's what use transition hook does. Simple, simple. Don't go for any other definition. This is exactly what use transition hook is, used for. I have done a little bit of research around it, and this is the best outcome that I have come across. Now, what I will do is in the same application that I actually have, what I will do is I will simply try to implement use transition. Okay, so let me remove this is called, although let me do one thing. Let me create a file for all of your reference. I will simply say react19.txt. Okay, over here the first one is older. In older, this is the old way how we used to implement things. So Control A, Control C. Let me paste it here. After that, I will have new. In this new, what I will do is I will paste the updated code. Now, React 19 says, instead of defining a separate state for this, don't do that. Define another state. So I will have a state called as use transition, in which it also returns two things. Number one is I can name it whatever I want. So I will write it is pending or is loading, whatever is pending. In that particular case, second would be start transition. Start transition. Now, what does start transition also mean? I will come to it as well. And then is equals to use transition. And you can clearly see use transition is imported, from the React. You can see what it says. Allows component to avoid undesirable loading states for waiting. You will understand it by definition. Happy birthday, Manash. Happy birthday. Please enjoy, take care of yourself, and also make sure you watch the recording later on. Okay, now see what's going to happen. If you look at this code, I have removed set is loading. So this does not make any sense. This does not make any sense, first of all. Second thing, is loading does not make any sense. I will make it is pending. Although I should have named it is loading, but doesn't matter. So is pending. What have I done? Simply as of now, I have changed my use state with use transition. And then I have not updated my set is pending true to set is pending false over here. But React 19 says I will take care of it myself. The only thing that you need to do is you need to wrap the logic for which you want to determine what the time is in start transition. Let me repeat. In very clear words, my intention was I wanted a user interface, a different user interface for the time it actually returns, executes this code. Now it says, simply give this code to start transition. It will tell you that for this amount of time, which is part of start transition, for this amount of time, I will make is pending true. And immediately this code executes itself, is pending will go back to false. Am I clear? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation. Am I clear? Yes or no? Am I clear? Quickly. Quickly. So what I will do is now this try catch, entire try catch will be implemented in start transition. And in this start transition, I will simply, since I have to use async over here, so let me make async await like this. And over here, I will simply paste it, the code that I have. What have I done? I've simply wrapped my code, the same asynchronous task in a proper API, in a proper state transition. Now, use transition says, for this amount of time, this code that will be executed for that amount of time, I will make is pending true. So you don't have to worry about this is loading or is pending state. Am I clear? I hope use transition hook is completely understood. This is a new feature of React. So now if I try to go here and if I try to execute this for getting a joke, you can still see it still works in the same way. Am I clear? Am I clear? So it's simply that there are a lot of use cases for this kind of scenario. That's why React gave us a feature for it, directly implemented. So simply pass the code to the use transition, start transition. That's it. I hope use transition is completely understood. So this is number one change, number one hook of React 19, which we have discussed. Let's move to another one. Another very important example called as useActionState hook. Use transition and use state action hook, another hook, use action state hook. They both are somehow similar. There are a lot of similarities, but there's only one extra thing that has been included. For this, I will give you Another example, let me try to control A, control X this, and let me paste it here. I hope use transitions quite clear. Although best practice for you guys would be, I will go to React Dev. Since Govind has asked for documentation as well, I would definitely suggest you to go over here and check use transition here as well in the React documentation. You can see we have use transition hook. It returns two things: is pending, start transition. The React hook that lets you render a part of UI in the background, and we can clearly understand that this is what we have understood as well. We can understand what references, what all these things are. You can understand all of this documentation. If not, but I think I have given you a complete understanding of it, right? Moving a little bit forward. Now there's one another hook which is introduced inside our React 19, which is called useActionState. Okay. It's going to behave in a similar way. What does useActionState do? First of all, let's go here and let's try to search it here as well. useActionState. So if I go to useActionState, that allows you to update the state based on a result of a form action. So what have you understood from this definition? That this hook is majorly made for forms. Yes or no? This hook is majorly made for forms so that we can actually deal with our React forms in a far better way. For that particular thing, we have this useActionState. Let me not waste any time in definitions, in understanding the, what is called syntax, but let me give you a very simple example. What I will do is I will simply go create a functional component in which I will try to, let's say, the same login functionality. The login functionality that we actually had, when I click on login, if the credentials are correct, in that case, the time it takes for that amount of time, display logging you in. That's what we want to do. That's a simple example that I actually have. So what I will do is I will simply go create a simple component. Okay, let's do that. In this app component, I won't create any other separate component. Let me make it over here only. What I will do is I will simply go, let's say, my app, although not that one. So let's say, let me create a div in which I will simply go create an h1. I will simply say login example like this. Done. After this, let me include a form in it because this particular hook is majorly for forms. So let me simply go create an input field. Although let's first of all create a form. Form is very important. Okay, so let's go and create form. Action, I don't need any action here. And let me go here and let me try to create an input field. And this input field will have type this. And I will first of all show you the way of normal React, and then we will move towards the React 19. Over here, let me simply go give it a placeholder, which is our username. Then, comma, I will go implement a state for the same. I will implement a password. Done. Then what else? Of course, I will need two states for these two things because it's a controlled component. What is a control component? Whenever we try to control a particular form with help of a state, in that particular case, we know we are using controlled component. So let me define two states over here. So constant number one is username, comma, set my username, and then this is going to be equals to use state like this, and initially it's going to be an empty string. Simply Control C, Control V over here. Let me make this password like this, and then let me go here and make set my password. Done. Finally, over here to this, I have to implement value, make it username, and then go there and implement an on change event on it. So on change on event, then E like this, where I will simply tell it set my username to E dot target dot value. This is what we used to do until now. Although even this is what we will still do because there are a lot of time that it is going to take to be familiar around a lot of things. So this is what we are going to still follow always in most of the cases. And now let me try to update this with password. And let me try to update this with password as well. Alt Z so that I can get it properly aligned. Do we have any questions until now? I don't think so because this is what we used to do until now. In every single case, this is what we used to do, right? Am I clear? Yes or no? Am I clear? Yes or no? I hope this is very simple, right? After that, inside the same form, I will simply go create a button. And on this button, I will simply say login. Now, what I want is, I simply want one thing. Please try to understand what I'm trying to achieve. I will define a admin credentials myself, a dummy credentials. I will simply say, check if the username is admin, if the password is password. In that case, simply say admin has been allowed. If not, in that case, say something else. Also, the time it takes to authenticate the credentials to see whether admin is logging in or a user is supposed to be created. For that time, this button should say logging you in. This is what we want. Now, of course, if we want that, if we talk about normal way, we need a state for it. We have discussed it in our previous example as well. So constant, I will simply say is my pending. So is pending, comma, set my is pending is equals to by default use state. I will make it by default false. Very good. So it's by default false, the same approach which I've already showed you in our previous session, previous example, I mean. So I will simply go say is pending. If this is true at that point of time, then in that case, simply say logging you in dot dot dot. Then comma in this particular case, simply say login. Okay, although not comma, sorry, colon. Done. So this is one thing. Wonderful. For this, we have defined a state. Now, what's the difference? Because until now, if you look at this example actually is similar to what we have done in our previous example. So what is new over here? Over here, the new functionality is the action that this form is going to perform. What is the action? Action is take the input from username, take the input from password, compare it with something, and then see if admin is logging in or not. So this is an action that we are trying to perform. So that's why we have a hook also later on. We will see use action state. We will come, understand that later on. So over here, I will simply tell it on click. Whenever I click on this particular button, at that point of time, simply call a function. Let me name that function as login, and let's even define the function login that we actually have. So let me define the logic for it, in which I will try to put some timer or give it some delay. So constant, let me define a login like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Now in this login, the first thing is I will make set is pending true, because I know until it performs all the logic, authenticates, until then the is pending should be true. At the end, I will make it false. We have seen the same thing. Also, let me define one another thing. Since there is a check that we have to see whether it is a admin or not, in that particular case, let's create a state for error as well. So let me simply go create the state which will be error. Sorry, not capture error, but small error. And then set error. Perfect. Now over here also, in this particular case, since I know that I am trying to log in, so there won't be an error. So I will simply go say set my error to null. Done. And also let me give it initial state as null as well, not this. Perfect. Anything else? Now I will write a small logic, a dummy logic, nothing else. I will create deliberately. Why? So we don't need backend to check that who is logged. At this point of time, since we don't know what backend we have right now, we don't know what Node.js is, right? We don't know what MongoDB is. So we will create a dummy user here only, right? But of course, it is going to check very quickly. It won't take that much of time. That's why I will actually tell it await. I will give it a 2-second timer via promise, because I know later on when I try to fetch the username and email with respect to the database, it's going to be a promise. That's why I will create a dummy promise for all of you to give you a better feel. So let me simply say new promise like this, in which I will simply tell it to resolve. Hey, please resolve. And I know it's going to resolve in this case. Then resolve the same thing over this set timeout. Resolve it after 2 seconds. Do we understand why I have implemented this promise? Do we understand why I have implemented this promise? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. This is a simply, I am trying to simulate a dummy API call with set timeout in this case. Am I clear? Am I clear? Yes or no? Done. If I am clear, in that particular case, I will now implement a simple check. You can see what I'm doing is I'm simply telling it if username is equals to admin, password is equals to admin. In that particular case, let me define one another state. You will see how many states I'm defining. User comma set my user is equals to, by default, I will simply go say use state set by default it empty. Then in that case, I will simply tell it if it is admin, please go and set my user to admin. So if I'm passing username and my password here, in that particular case, I will simply tell set my username to set my user to username like this. Done. Perfect. Else give me an error. Else do one thing, set my error to invalid user like this, maybe some other error, whatever, right? And finally, once this entire thing is executed, all of this code is executed, set my is pending to true, false, sorry. Am I clear? You can automatically understand and relate it with the previous example as well. Like this time, whatever this time would be, for that amount of time is pending will be true. And for that amount of time, my button is going to say logging you in. I hope that makes sense. I hope this makes complete sense. Am I clear? Am I clear? See, I will quickly repeat what login functionality is doing. Understand what I'm trying to do, Dar Imad. I am simply trying to have two input fields where I will write username and my password. Okay. Now after that, if a user is typing username as admin and password as admin, although let me write password as password for better understanding. If a user over there on the website types in the username input field admin and in the password input field password, in that particular case, update this particular state with the username, which is admin. Done. So it means we are getting a user in that case. If user is typing these two as credentials, we are getting a user. If not, in that case, give me a message error, which is invalid user. But also, this particular function, when it will be called, in between, I am putting a promise as well that resolve this particular promise for 2 seconds with a set timeout. So it's a dummy promise that I'm creating. It's a dummy authentication that I'm implementing here. Am I clear? Does it make any sense? Does it make any sense? Give me a quick confirmation. Perfect. Very good. Since it makes a little bit of, give me a second only. Since it makes a little bit of sense over here, after this form, what I would do is I will simply go and tell it. If I have an error, in that case, display an error. If there's an error, invalid user, give me an error. If there's another case, if there's a user, in that case, simply say welcome user. And tell me, guys, I have a quick question and I will give you 2 minutes here. When will I get this message? According to this sentence, according to this code that I have written here. When will I get this message, which is welcome user? Quickly tell me. Quickly. When will I get this welcome user? When? Very good. When? I type inside the username field, I type the admin. Inside password, I type the password. In that particular case, it will make the username a true entity. And then since it becomes true, in that case, this also becomes true. If I don't do that, in that case, this becomes true and it gives me an error. Very good, Pratnya. Very good, Said. Let's go here and let's try to see the output. So let me simply go here and let's try to go here. And in the output React app, let me try to refresh my page. I hope there's nothing wrong. Let me type some username. Let me type some password. In this case, although there is some small issue, don't know what the issue is. So username, password, login. Why is it? Okay, very good. Can anyone tell me what's the issue? What is the issue? What's the issue? Our logic is absolutely correct. What's the issue? I am typing username, I am typing password. Immediately it's refreshing. Hello, Rohit. Hi. We are not using. No delay time. What's happening? What is this behavior, Ankit KR? This is a form behavior. It's going to refresh itself. So for that, there can be two possibilities. I can implement e.prevent default, but for that, I have to implement on submit handler. So let me not implement form here. It will resolve my problem, right? I hope that makes sense. for this example only. Otherwise, the better answer to this would be to implement e.prevent default. Please do that. So let me write username and let me write password and let me click on login. Now, once I click on login, you can clearly see for some time, the 2 seconds time until it resolves the promise, my is pending state became true to false, false to true, and it gave me logging in. And then once that was done, it's giving me invalid user. But if I go here and write admin, and after that, once admin is written, I will write a password, which is password. And in that case, if I try to log in, you can clearly see logging you in for some time and then welcome admin. Is this clear? Like, this is how we can implement it using the previous versions of React, right? And this is what we can do right now as well. Of course, this is most of the people follow this kind of scenario. But since React has understood that there are a lot of use cases in which we implement such behavior, so let me give you a better way of handling our form data, handling our form that performs an action and then does something. Understand this? Okay. It's not actually about this, admin and password. This is a if else condition, but it's about that once I click on this, once the action is performed, then a different user interface, then once that action is ended, then it goes back to normal. Am I clear? That's what it's actually about. And for that, the answer is we will implement this behavior using these many states. Now we have a better way of it. We have a better solution to it. What is that solution? What is that solution? Solution is we will use a hook, and that hook is called useActionState. Lot of people, I can still believe this if once I show you the same problem, same code with help of a useActionState, you will simply say, no, sir, I am comfortable with the previous one only. That's what you are going to say. And it is true, because adjusting to new things takes time. And it is going to take time. But I have given you a real older scenario. Now I will give you a new scenario with the same thing as well. What I will do is I will first of all Control A, Control C this, and let me put it inside the older. Done. Let me paste it. This is older. And then I will simply have new. Please remind me later on. I will share this new text file with all of you. Okay, text file only. But remind me that. Okay. Over here now, I will simply go and let me remove this entire thing. I will implement the same logic, and now I will also try to implement a better way of dealing with the forms. Better way. So I will not define it like this. So even let me remove all of this, because there will be a lot of changes that I will have to make. So instead of this, let me try to create it from the very scratch so that you can understand betterly. Now, first of all, the first and the most important thing, the example that I'm going to show you, over here, I did not implement form tag, but over here, I have to implement form tag, because you saw the definition. What was the definition? If you go to the definition of React, the definition of useActionState is on the result of a form action. That's number one thing. Although you can use it without forms as well. I have seen a proper use case of it. Although in that case, it creates a little bit of problems, which I'm trying to myself resolve right now. But right now, I'm focusing on forms only. So useActionState from the perspective of forms. So I have to implement form. So I will simply go here, and it returns three things. Number one is state, the state which you are going to use. Number two is form action, the action that form will perform. And number three is pending. Is pending, you can automatically understand that you don't have to now manually make it true and then false. It will automatically be true for the amount of time this action is being performed. Am I clear? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation. Right now, I think in Kashmir, it's -5 degree temperature. So I'm taking class in -5 degree. So give me a quick confirmation. Is this clear? So where we have our useActionState, a simple hook. It's very simple hook. It returns three things. Number one is the state variable, like state. You can name it anything, but it's a state. Second is the action, the form action that we are going to perform. Number three is pending. But until this form action performs its action, this is pending will be made true, and outside of that, it will be false. Similar to useTransition hook. Okay. Let's see a very good real life example for the same. Let me go here And in this div, I will simply let me try to make the same login example like this. And over here, I will simply go implement a form. And on this, now actions are very important. Until now, have we ever used action attribute? Have we ever used action attribute? No, we have never used action attribute. But now it is time to implement action attribute, because use action state is related to the action that this form is going to perform. So this action becomes very important here. So I will keep it as of now empty strings. And let me go here and let me simply make input with a type text. And then in this case, I will simply go implement a placeholder. And this placeholder is going to be simply enter username. Then I will simply go give it a name this time. I'm not going to connect it with a state, not value. I'm not able to reset. Ignore that as of now. Say it. Focus here. We will discuss that later on. You can text me on my WhatsApp related to that. So input type text, placeholder enter username, name, we have to give it. So I will give it name as username, because this time I'm going to talk to my form using form data, object JavaScript API. It's not a React Native API. I will talk about that. So let me go here, input with a type password, then placeholder as the password, enter password. Then over there, I will also give it a name attribute with a password. So I've given it type, which is obviously there, placeholder optional, name is very important here. So I've given it name. In order to control any form until now, what we used to do? Anyone? We used to implement states, then connect that state, or we used to use references, yes or no? Either state or references. But this time I'm not going to do any of it. I will go here. First of all, let me create a button. And then in this button, I know I have to use what is this called? Is pending. So what I will do is I will simply go here above return and I will define three things. Constant, the state name, whatever the state name is, I will keep it result. Second thing is the action. So let me make it login. Third thing is pending, like this. Is equals to, I will simply call a hook which is called useActionState. Number one is the action which is going to perform. So this is the action, but what function it's going to perform, that's here. So useActionState also receives two arguments. Number one is the action that you're going to perform, the function which will be called. So let me name this login action, comma. Sorry. Second one is the initial state of result, initial value of the state. So I don't want to make it anything, so let me make it null. I hope this syntax is clear. Like what useActionState does. Login, I will simply take it, perform it here so that this will be connected. Perfectly fine. So action is login. So now we can clearly see this form is attached with this particular line of code. Number one thing. Second thing is result. We will talk about result. I will display result or whatever I'm supposed to do with the result. We will do that later on. Okay. Is pending, what it does, we will see that as well. But over here, we are worried about only one function, which is called a login function. So let me go here and let me try to make a function. So constant, the login function, sorry, what happened? Constant login action, is it login action? Yes. Is equals to a function, async. Over here, we can receive two arguments to this action function. Number one is called previous state. If you use it, keep it there. If not, you can simply mention ... in place of this. Then second thing is the form data. What does this all do? I will tell you that in a second. But right now, let me try to complete the action. Perfectly fine. Now, can I say, please confirm properly in the chat if you agree or disagree with me, that right now when I click on this form, at that point of time, as soon as I click on the button login here, as soon as I do that, it is going to perform an action which is login. Yes or no? Tell me that. As soon as I click on button, of course, whose type is submit so that it will be connected with the form, it is going to perform an action which is login. Yes or no? Yes. Then this login is absolutely connected to useActionState hook, with a login action, which means in turn this whole logic will be executed for this result that we will get out of it. Very good. So that is the connection, if you understood it. If not, I will make you understand what it actually is, what it returns. Let me go here. Let's try to understand one thing. I will go and I will talk about two variables because I have two variables, two input fields. I will tell it the form data that I actually have. From this, please get. What are we going to get? Get an input field whose name attribute is username. That's why I told you name attribute is very important in this example. Constant, second one is the password, is equals to form data dot get, and in this particular case, please tell me what password is. Now, what's happening over here? What am I trying to do? Pay close attention. Console.log username, comma, password. Now you will be thinking, sir, what is this form data? Form data is not like React, any new feature. It's a JavaScript API. Like whenever you perform a action from a form, API, there's an API inside JavaScript called as form data, which holds the information of that particular form. So when this login action was created, at that point of time, we are calling the form when we click on the submit button, right? When we click on this login. So this form data gets rapid created. It's an object and API that gets created around the form. So don't think it as a React any new feature. It's not any new React feature. Am I clear? Am I clear? Please make sure you like this video right now. Am I clear? Don't think this form data is a new feature. You can use it in older versions of React. You can use it in direct JavaScript as well. It's a JavaScript API. Form data means information related to that form that from which action is being performed. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me go here and let's go and let's try to refresh our page. If I refresh our page, okay, let me go to console and let me click on this. So if I click on this, although username is this is empty, so let me write this and let me click on this. You can clearly see my username and password. So form data API, which captures, which allows me to capture. Now on that, I can simply perform get. Hey, get me an input field whose name attribute is this, and it is giving me that, return me and saving me it in these two variables. Done. After that, I will perform the same logic which I was performing in our normal case as well. So I will simply go say await. What? Hey, await. For that, have I implemented async? Yes. Await a new promise. Done. This promise is for what? A dummy check, nothing else. Resolve, and then I will simply tell it, please implement a set timeout, and this set timeout will simply execute resolve after 2 seconds. Then after that, check if username is equals to admin, and then check and if my password is equals to my password in that particular case. Now what is it going to return? What does it return? It returns the updated value. Like over here, to give you a better idea of what return over here means. Return means what this action returns. To give a better idea of this, let me display the data first. I will simply go here below this form and I will simply tell it, tell me result. And I know what result is. Result is this value. Okay. According to this result, please check. Okay. And then someone please tell me, what this operator is. This note of interrogation dot. What is it called? Anyone? And then in that case, simply see if there is any user in it. Then in that case, simply check what p tag, and then in this p tag, I will simply go and tell it to display what result.user. Okay. Then similarly, what do we have here? White space. Okay. Unexpected white space. Simply, I have again result, but in this case, this time if I have error, then in that case, simply display me result.error. Okay. No, it's not. It's a ternary operator kind of thing, but it's an updated version of it. But tell me what it is. Anyone? Meanwhile, you do a Google search or whatever you want to type in the answer. But I think you have understood what it means. Like in a result, if there is any key which is user, then please display this. In result, if there is any key which is error, then display this, right? Let me go here. Let's try to talk about this. I am telling it, please, if this is true, in that particular case, return object. Return user that is going to have a key which is username. So can I say that this particular object is nothing but this result now? Yes or no? Optional chaining operator, exactly. This one. Tell me. So it means that the action that we are going to perform, it will always return the updated value of this. I hope that makes sense. This login action is always going to return the updated value of result. Updated value of result. Make sure you understand that. Then simply go there and else. Else go there and simply say return. What are we going to return? Return an object. Update the same result with the error. But over here, update this error with the invalid credentials. Also, now is pending is not used. I will go here on this button and I will simply say is pending. In that particular case, display logging in. Dot and then go there and implement log in. Do we understand the logic until now? Give me a confirmation for that, then I will start explaining what's happening. Am I clear with the logic? This is the whole component. So I'm in first year. I have already completed JS Basic. Should I follow you? Of course, yes. Like I anyone here who has been following this playlist, they can give you a better answer than me, right? Because there are a lot of students here, Ayush, who can give a better answer to this. But of course, make sure do not start anywhere in between. Start from the first video of React or JavaScript. I would definitely suggest you to start from JavaScript, because there are a lot of things that you are going to learn from this playlist. It's not like basics. It's basics, intermediate, advanced, everything in this playlist. So please follow it from the very first video only, not in between. Okay. Am I clear, guys? Do we understand this? The new feature of our React 19? Maybe, maybe not. Let me give you a complete understanding what's happening. If you look at this example, to implement such behavior, how many states we needed, guys? How many states we needed? 5. Over here in this particular case, to implement such kind of behavior, do we need any state? Of course not. We need a state, but from the perspective of action state. And then everything is returned and managed by the result itself, by the action itself. So whenever your forms are involved, in that particular case, you are performing an action and that action is supposed to do something. Our best tool is not to use separate states to define and control everything, but to actually use useActionState. Am I clear? Am I clear? Let's see its functionality. Let's see whether it's working or not. So let me go here. Let me click on login. So if I click on logging in, and then invalid credentials. But if I write over there admin, and then if I write over here password, like this. So if I write password, and then if I click on login, you can clearly see I am getting welcome user, although admin in this case. Now tell me, which one is better? Which one is better? Which one is better? Now I have a simple question here, okay? Because we have been discussing now React from last 5 to 8 classes, and we have discussed a lot of React in these classes, right? Do you think this is a new feature? I would not say that. It's simply that there is a use case, some use cases, and React has just given it a new umbrella, a new naming, a new cover. Of course, we can ourselves create a proper, what is called, a proper custom hook as well. Right? We can discuss, we can create our own custom hook that will do the exact same behavior. So it's not a new feature. It's simply that there are a lot of use cases for such kind of behavior from forms especially. That's why React has given us this particular feature. Hey, this is what you need. So of course, implement that. So we are going to implement from now on, whenever we require this kind of behavior, we are going to use useActionState. That's it. Am I clear? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirm in the chat. So if you are okay with telling me what tech stacks are you gonna teach us in tech stack, I have given. So as of now, this batch that we are going through, Ayush, this is about MERN. So we are going to learn front end. In front end we are going to learn React and JavaScript, and in back end we are going to learn Node.js, MongoDB, Express, and all the other tools. That's the first batch. After that, we are going to start another batch with DSA. And maybe in this winter, we are going to start a batch, but from a separate instructor with Python. I cannot guarantee that, but that's the plan. So we are going to launch very big batches, completely free, but a proper detailed batches around Python, around any programming language. Most of them Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, data structures, and MERN, mean. These are the things that we are trying to achieve in next 1.5 year. So definitely, if you are right now in first year, do one thing: subscribe it this channel, and I can guarantee you one thing: you will not find this kind of content anywhere else for free. Guys, am I clear? I cannot see people typing yes in the chat. Are we clear? This use action state hook. Are we clear? Also, Ayush, one another thing for Ayush especially, you can reach out to me on my WhatsApp. Like, we have a group over there. Please make sure you join it. Someone share the invite link in the chat section so that Ayush can join, and he can get all the updates, and he can share it with his batch as well. Perfect. So we are good with these two functionalities. So number one was use transition. You understood what use transition does. And number two is use action state. Also, one other thing. Can I say here, if you look at this particular code, when this action was happening, until then I made it manually true. Then I made it manually false. But according to this use action state, don't you think it is treating is pending true only for this amount of time? Yes or no? Come on, give me a quick confirmation. Quick confirmation. So remember, this is what we have, right? I hope this makes sense. So we are going to take a break of 10 minutes now. In the meantime, I will also share the link to Ayush, and then we can continue the other few discussions on React 19 version. And we are going to discuss two things now. Refs. There's a small change in refs that has happened in React 19, and another hook is called useOptimistic. So useOptimistic is another thing that we have to discuss, and there are a lot of other changes as well. But for that, we have to discuss a lot of prerequisites. There are a lot of prerequisites that we have, so we cannot discuss them right now. So there will be part two of React 19, but at the end of React. So all these things, don't you think, in order to discuss these two hooks, we already had all the prerequisites? Have I taught you anything new? No, I have taught you same thing, but with a different covering. That's it. I've not taught you anything new. Remember that, okay? So see you guys exactly after 10 minutes. Meanwhile, let me try to share the link to Ayush, and if there's anyone else who wants to join, they can. Okay, see you guys. Bye. After 10 minutes. See you guys. Bye. Hey guys, hi everyone. Hello, hi. Am I audible? Am I visible? Hello guys, hi everyone. Hello Ankit. Hi Rohit. Hi Smita. Hi. Perfect. Great. So I guess we can start waiting for other people to join back, and then we can start our session. Hello Dar. Hi Pradnia. Hi Priyanshu. Hello Muhammad. Hi. So we'll be starting in 1 or 2 minutes, but let's wait for other people to join. In the meantime, there's no point in wasting time. Let's go back to our VS Code and let's understand these things again. So we saw that when we talk about our use transition, what use transition is especially made for, right? To display a user interface until that action is completed to display a different user interface. So we do not have to define a separate state for it and then manually control it, but instead of that, we can simply pass it in start transition and it is done. Second thing that we actually understood was how use action state works. And we understood when we talk about a form, with respect to forms, it's very important to understand what actions actually do. And with respect to this action, we can actually perform a logic, and until that logic is executed, this is pending also becomes true. So you can console it and you will clearly see that it's true for that amount of time. Now, this one small change. We have completed these. So let me try to control X this and let me try to paste it in new so that you can find it later on. Okay. I have a simple question. Leave these two things because we have completed these two things. So I'm not going to back there. There are two things that we need to now understand. I have a simple question and I expect an answer because I have taught this topic. Okay. Inside React, we have discussed a concept of refs. What does refs do? A refs return an object in which they create a current key, and that current can reference to anything, any node or whatever we connected with a ref attribute. But my question is that there was a method from React which we understood, with help of which we can expose a node to a parent. What's that method called? So if I want to pass a ref from a parent component to a DOM element inside a child component, what did we use? Tell me quickly, answer in the chat. Let me again repeat. No, not prototype. Not prototype. Inside our React, there's a method which we discussed when we were discussing refs Pradnya. If we want to pass a ref from a parent component to a DOM element inside a child component, what do we use? We use forward refs. Very good, Mohammed. What do we use? Forward refs. Do we all agree with that? Do we all agree with that? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation. We use forward refs, right? Yes or no? Very good. But unfortunately, there was an encounter between React 19 and older versions, and we have lost forward refs. So we no longer need forward refs, and we have a better way, although not better way, but direct way to do the same task when we want to pass a ref from a parent to the child. So we are no longer in need of forward refs, because even though there was a forward ref and it did our work, but people used to find it a little bit difficult to work with it. Okay, little bit difficult. So there's a very sad news that we have lost forward refs. Although you can still use it. If you're comfortable around forward refs, you can still use it. Now, what does React 19 say for the same? React 19 says, hey, don't use forward refs. But React will automatically handle a ref forwarding internally. So React 19 says, treat refs as you treat normal props. So you will be just able to pass the ref to a function component to a child component, and React will automatically forward it to the DOM element or the component inside. So you don't have to take care of it. You don't have to worry about forward refs. I will do it by a normal prop. Remember, ref is a specific prop, a very special prop when we talk about forward refs. You remember the syntax? Let me show you an example. Maybe you might have forgotten it. Let me do one thing. Let me create a child component here, okay? Although before I create a child component, let me define a small ref here inside the parent app. So let's say constant input ref is equals to use ref, like this. And then over here, inside this use ref, what I will do is I will simply create a forward ref, a child over here, to which I will simply try to transfer this ref, okay, input ref. So let me go here and create a component, let's say custom component, my component. So any component, whatever you want. So custom input is equals to, and let me simply use until now. This is what we used to do. This is what we used to do. I will simply use react.forward ref like this, in which it was receiving two arguments. Number one was your normal props. Number two was your ref. Yes or no? This is what we used to do. And then over here inside this function, we can simply tell it what it was, what it's supposed to return. So let me try to tell it to return an input component, input field, to which I will simply have a ref. This will be pointing to the ref it will receive from the parent like this. And let me try to simply separate out rest of the props. Am I clear? Is this what we used to do? And now we only need to do one small thing, which is over and inside this div, I simply need to call my component password this ref, right? So let me simply go do something like this. Am I clear? So if we want to access this input ref, this ref over here, this is what we used to do, forward refs. Do we all agree with that? Because I have taught you this properly in 1-2 hours class. What this is, forward ref is, and all of those things. This is what we used to do, right? Let's implement some functionality on it as well. So what I will do is I will simply go say, let's suppose use effect. So inside use effect, what I will do is I will simply go and tell it, hey, inside my input ref, if there is current, so let me try to, for this condition to be true, let me try to initialize it with null. So if this is true, in that particular case, implement some code, whatever I want. Simply input ref dot current, which is that input field which I am receiving from the child. For that, please go check its style. Please change its background color, maybe. Right? I'm not worried about what we do. It's about understanding the concept. So let me make it red. So what does this entire logic mean? That as soon as I refresh my page, over here, what's going to happen? It's going to have a red background to this input field. So we simply forwarded a ref from parent to child. Is this what we did? Am I clear? Do we understand what forward refs are? I have repeated it for your understanding. Otherwise, I could have directly went to what React 19 gives me. Give me a quick confirm in the chat. So if you check right now your React application, you can clearly see by default, as soon as you refresh your page, since use effect right now does not have any dependency or anything, I know use effects logic will be executed in mounting. Since it will be executed in mounting, it will check, is input ref current pointing to something? If it is pointing to something, by default in the mounting, make it red. And you can clearly see it's properly working, which means forward ref is properly working. You can see it's red background color, right? But now there's a better way. Why? Because we are not comfortable with forward ref. Its syntax is weird. We do not trust ourselves with the forward ref. Although we do. I know what syntax is. I wrote it in 2 seconds. But a lot of freshers do not feel comfortable around forward refs. That's why let me try to go here and let me try to Control A, Control X, and let me try to put it in older. So this is our older way, how we used to expose our ref to a parent, from parent to a child, right? Now the same example I will show you with what we have right now in the React version. First of all, you must understand, if you check my package.json, React version is 19. You can see React version is 19. So if you right now install any React folder, automatically React 19 will be installed. Okay, make sure React version is 19. That's why it's working. So you might have already a folder and then you will think, okay, it's not working because you don't have the proper dependencies installed. Install your proper dependencies. Okay. Now, same example. I'm not going to do anything else. Same, literally same example. I will go here and I will define a component. Let me go and let me define the same component. So function custom input like this is equals to a function like this, like this, like this, like this. Simply. And it's supposed to return something. So let me simply tell it to return the same logic, which is my input field, like this. And now what I will do is I will simply go here and call my custom component. So let me go here and call my custom input like this, like this, like this. Perfectly fine. And although, let me make it capital. Perfect. Now if I go here and if I try to see, you can clearly see input field. Now what I want to do is I want to define a ref here and want to send it to my custom component, to my child. So let me do that. So let me simply go say constant same input ref here is equals to use ref. Let me import this and pass null to it. Then I want to perform the same logic again. Use effect in which please go and check if this input ref is pointing to something. If my input ref dot current, if it is pointing to something, if there exists current, in that particular case, simply go and do one thing, same logic, which is go to its style and see if it holds a background property. So background color, make it is equals to red. Now what do we need to do? We simply need to go and implement a ref here. Sorry, ref is equals to a ref prop with the input ref. Now, according to the older versions of React, how can my child receive this ref, guys? So that the logic will be implemented on this input field. How can that happen? By using a method called as react.forwardRef, which is what we used to do. But React 19 says treat it as normal props, although it's a special prop, but treat it normally as you used to teach other props. So I have normal props like this, but then I also receive it like this. Simple logic, nothing else. That's how easy it is. I can simply pass it as another attribute. Normal props will be received as how they are, and then we have simply ref over here like this, right? And then what I will do is I will simply go here and implement my ref like this. Ref. So I don't have to use forward ref. Say it has been forwarded from the parent. No. I simply received it as a prop and then implemented it as a prop. Now I can separate out rest of the props if I want. But if I refresh my page, we should be able to see this red, but it's not. Why is it not? Why is this not? Because there's something missing. Why? Have I missed anything, guys? Input ref, use ref is properly pointing to null, and I am returning this. Let me try to see one thing here. So I will pass another prop as placeholder. Let me see if this gets properly separated out. Placeholder is equals to, and then in this case, adfar. Let me go here and let me try to simply go to input field and simply say dot props, although in JSX proper. So if I go right now to my output, it works. Perfect. Why was it not working already? So it's working. It's working. Even if I don't implement props, it's still going to work. Does it make sense? So we simply are going to treat now in our newest version of React our ref as a normal prop, but still a special prop. It is not property of the props, but it is still a special prop. So I have accessed it like this. I hope this makes sense. Am I clear? A change in React 19 with respect to refs? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Quickly. Done? So this is another change that we actually have inside React 19. If I go to my page, this documentation, you can see there are a lot of other changes that we have. Now there's one other hook which we are going to discuss. I'm not able to see every student typing yes in the chat. Why is that? Only 3 students typed yes. Simply, the answer is no longer we will ever use forward refs from now on, because we will treat our refs and we can access it directly now as a special prop. That's it. Number one thing. Second thing, can anyone give me, it's a tricky question, can you guys tell me why we will still use forward refs? Why we will still use forward refs? Why we will use still forward refs? There is one possibility we will still use forward refs. Can anyone tell me why? Anyone? I have gone through one of the articles where it was mentioned, although I have not tested it myself right now, but forward refs can still be used at one instance, which is whenever you want to implement the same thing inside a class based component. So, inside a class based component, we are still going to use forward refs only. Okay, please note that. Although I have not tested it myself yet, I have read it from some other source, so I have to test it myself. But if you have to believe that source, uh, forward refs are still going to be used, but in class based components. But to that, the answer would be said, we don't use class based components anymore, so you are never going to use forward refs. Okay, now let's talk about this use optimistic hook, one of the very important hooks. And this use optimistic hook is somehow a game changer in a lot of ways as well, in a lot of sense as well. Let's try to understand why. What does optimistic word mean? Can anyone tell me what does optimistic word mean? Anyone give me a literal meaning of optimistic? Quickly. What does optimistic mean? Optimistic keyword. Optimize. Positive. Okay. Give me a Google definition. Anyone go to the Google and tell me what the Google definition is of optimistic. In the meantime, let me give you a scenario so that you can understand what optimistic is. Have you seen anywhere in websites where a user interacts with the website? Let's suppose you post a comment, or you post a image of yourself, or you post a tweet, something like that. Whenever you post any of these things, whenever user interacts, let's suppose to this video, once this session ends, I will add a comment. Sir, wonderful video. No one has explained these concepts like this. Right? Let's suppose that's the comment that I'm going to paste. And as soon as I click on comment, immediately comment gets displayed. Comment gets displayed on your user interface. And on that, maybe it is giving you a small in brackets a message posting. And after some time, either it will be posted or it gives you an error. Hey, can't post right now. Something like that. Have you seen that? Have you seen that? Such kind of behaviors? Perfect. Another example. React, this use optimistic hook says, hey, be optimistic. Be optimistic. By that, it means that think positive. Okay. Think that your comment will be posted. Okay. Think that it will be posted. Think that your tweet will be tweeted. Think that your image will be, pasted. And then later on, at this point of time, as soon as you click on submit, I will post the message on your user interface so that you will get a better feeling. Okay, it has worked. I will post the message. I will post the comment. I will post the like. I will post whatever user is trying to interact with me. But then, in the meantime, it is communicating with the server. It's communicating with the backend. Then later on, if there's any issue in that particular case, I will give you the error. But right now, when this action is happening, at that point of time, I will be optimistic. Am I clear? Am I clear? Do you understand the example? It's a very simple example, but I don't think there can be a better example than this. And we have seen such kind of behaviors in a lot of websites. Like where you post something, and as soon as you post something, comment gets displayed. But on the same time, there's a bracket over there. We say sending, we say posting, we say uploading, which means your user interface is telling you, okay, this is what you have posted, this is what you have tweeted. But on the same time, after 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds, when it communicates with the server, if there are any network issues or any other issues, then gives you a message, hey, unable to post right now, post later on. Or post something, whatever the message is, whatever the error is. Am I clear? This is what use optimistic mean. This is what it means. Simply, it says over here, and someone has pasted the same thing. You can see in over here. Let me try to search the use optimistic hook. It says use optimistic is a React hook that lets you optimistically update the UI. What does that mean? That means it lets you show a different state while a async action is underway. So when you perform the action, we know an asynchronous action is underway. Until that is underway, I am going to show you a different state on that particular user interface. It accepts some state as an argument and returns a copy of a state that can be different during the duration of an async operation, such as network request. So you make any network request, get request, whatever you want to do. Until then, it will give you a copy of it. You provide whatever it is, right? Let's understand its syntax over here. This is one of the best syntaxes. That's why I always say React Dev, there's no other best documentation of React. No other best documentation. Even you might think that I know a lot of things about React. If I start creating documentation, I don't think I will ever create a documentation like this. Ever. If I work 100 years on it. Wonderful documentation. First of all, you need to understand, optimistic is simply kind of a, what is this called? Illusion. Illusion that you're trying to create, nothing else. For your better user interface. So that your users can interact in a better way with your website. That's what it is. It's an illusion, nothing else. Over here, we have an optimistic state, an illusion state, and an optimistic, add illusion to it. Okay. After that, you can see use state receives two arguments. Number one is the state. Okay. So you can see state is nothing but a value that needs to be returned initially whenever no action is pending. So when you perform an action, which means you are performing an action at point of a time, but before that no action was performed, and until then this is the initial value. So over here, this value is the initial value of this optimistic state. Second thing is, this is nothing but an updater function. But what does updater function do? Updater function returns a state. So whatever this will do, it simply means update this value. That's it, nothing else. So we have update function, a function that takes the current state as an argument. So over here, it takes current state as an argument. Then it returns and the optimistic value passed to add optimistic function. So an optimistic value to pass to an add optimistic value function and returns a resulting optimistic state, and finally results a resulting optimistic state. It must be a pure function. Update function takes this, the current, and whatever, you can go through the documentation, whatever you want, right? This is a wonderful example that React itself has given. So I'm not going to waste too much of time on it. Okay. This is a wonderful, wonderful example that React has given itself. What I will do is I will copy the same code and try to make you understand what it is. But before that, let me try to copy this. Although we already have it here. So instead of copying it, I can see it here as well. It says hello there, and then there's a message, a comment, something that you want to post, something that you want to send. Let me simply say, hey, my name is Adfar. And everyone, please make sure you subscribe the channel if you have not, okay? Because trust me, when I started this video, there were 1854 subscribers, and right now there are 1853 subscribers. So one subscriber has unsubscribed, right? And that's not what I would want, right? So please, if you have not, make sure to share this playlist with your friends. And that's something that's missing. I'm not receiving the entire support, honestly, from any one of the students. So ignore that. So my name is Adfar. Let me go and click on send. So when I click on send, you can clearly see it's my name is Adfar. And then did you saw sending over here? Let me again. It's sending, writing sending. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means right now I have given you a user interface. But once the action is done, then I have updated the original user interface. So when I am typing something here now, you can clearly see when I click on send, whatever I have typed over there, it has updated this value with the optimistic state. And optimistic value is being displayed over here with a sending message. But once the action is done, whatever the update of it is, I am receiving the updated value here. I hope that makes sense. To give you a complete understanding how it's happening over there, like what this particular functionality is, let me try to copy the entire functionality over here. Control C. And let me go here and let me try to paste it. After that, you can clearly see that there's a a function that is supposed to discuss which is deliver message. So instead of importing it from some other place, what I will do is I will simply define it in the same file. So let me go here and define it so that we can have everything at one file. So let me go and define it here, and then I will remove this. Although let me do one thing, Control X, and let me go here. Why is it deliver message? Why is this deliver message? Can anyone help me find this? Okay, it's here. So let me go here and let me try to paste it here, and then I will simply remove this. Once I remove this, let me remove this as well. Perfect. Now let's understand. Let's understand how everything is working. You can see, let's start from the very beginning. Always start from your app. Okay, whenever you have any bunch of code and you are trying to understand what it is, start from your app, because app is your entry point. Okay, you can see in this entry point, I have defined a state, which is a message. So I am simply trying to post a message, send a thread, nothing else. For that, I have defined a state which is called message, and then its initial value is an array. So you can see its initial value is an array that contains an object in which text is hello there, sending is false, key is 1. Simple. So my state is nothing but an array of objects. After that, over here, I am simply telling it to return a thread component. So I am calling a thread component in which I am simply transferring two props. Number one is message, number two is send message. Message is nothing but the state messages, and send message is nothing but another thing which is called send message. It's a function. Let's try to understand what these are. You can clearly see over here we have a function defined, an action defined, which is called a deliver message, and it receives an argument which is called a message. And I'm simply trying to return a promise 2 seconds, nothing else, which means it's going to return the same thing but after 2 seconds. Does it make any sense? It's a dummy promise that I'm trying to create. So when this function will be called, the message it receives as an argument, it will be simply transferred after 2 seconds, resolved after 2 seconds. Am I clear with that? Simple. Then I have a function which is called send message, in which I am simply trying to receive an argument which is called form data. Now we know what form data is. What is form data? A JavaScript API, right? It's a JavaScript API, which we have discussed already. Over here, I am creating a variable which is called send message, and I am trying to simply resolve this promise. I'm resolving this promise over here. Now, after resolving this promise, I am trying to send an argument over there, which is part of an input field whose name argument is message, and you can clearly see we have that input field here. So what's happening here? So whatever I will type inside this, we can clearly understand that's what is being returned from this particular function after 2 seconds once this promise is resolved. Am I clear? And then the same message is stored inside the sent message variable. Give me a quick confirmation until now that, sir, we have understood this much. Quickly. Done. Very good. After that, you can see I am simply receiving the message which will be typed inside the input field here, inside a variable which is called sent message after this promise is resolved. Then I am telling you to update the set messages with the previous separated values. So whatever objects it contains, separate them. So whatever previous objects are there, keep it there. Then at last add another object where text is sent message. So text is nothing but whatever you are typing inside the input field with this promise resolved. So I hope you have understood what send message does. Very good. Am I clear? Perfect. Moving forward. Now let's go to thread and let's try to understand what this thread is. This thread is a component in which I have simply a form in which I have input field that has a name message and a placeholder hello, and we have button is equals to send. Now here in this case, you can see I am defining an optimistic state. Am I defining an optimistic state? Of course, yes. You can see that here. But before that, I'm also defining a reference, an empty reference as of now, form ref, and then I am defining a function which is being called on this particular action. So whenever I click on submit, an action will be performed by the form which is called form action, and its ref is attached to form ref. So this form's reference, this node, the current of this form ref is this form. I hope this makes sense. So whatever this form reference is to that, its current will be pointed to this form. Very good. Then once this form will be submitted, the action that this form will perform is this particular function, which is called form action. Let's see what it does. Over here, I'm simply telling it do one thing, add an optimistic function, to which you will simply go to an input field, which is called form data dot get message. What does add optimistic message mean? Add optimistic message is second argument of use optimistic. This will be responsible for simply displaying in the user interface an optimistic illusion, an optimistic value until we get the value from the main action. And we can all clearly understand our main action is nothing but actually this whole thing. That we are receiving the main message from here, which is being resolved after this time, and then it is being displayed over here like this message or text with this sending. We know that's our main motive, right? Then you can clearly see over here what I am trying to do is I am simply trying to tell it, add inside the optimistic state, add inside the optimistic message, what? Go to the form data dot get message, go to the form data. We know what form data is, and find the message input field. So find this input field. Very good. So whatever its values, I will get that. Then after that, do one thing, form data dot current dot reset. Now, why is this happening? So whenever this action will be performed, immediately whatever it does, let it do, but reset the input field. Now in input field, I should not have anything. So for that line, I am doing this. Then I wait send message to form data. Now, what is this send message? What is this send message? Send message is nothing but the argument it receives, and we know what that is. Send message is this function, where I'm simply updating my main message, main state with the text set message. Perfectly fine. I hope that makes sense. After that, since I am calling all of this, so of course it must have a state. Now let's see what we are doing in this state. So we are defining a state called optimistic message and at optimistic message, in which the initial value is our normal messages. So this particular optimistic message is also a state kind of, in which its initial values are this particular thing. The message, its initial value is this. Wonderful. Then I am telling it, receive the current state. So whatever current state is, whatever those current objects are, separate them. Then update the optimistic state with text, whatever the new message is. Now, what is new message? New message is nothing but the new portrayed optimistic value that we are receiving. If you remember its syntax, you can clearly see what is it. What was its syntax? So we have current state optimistic value. So it's an optimistic value, right? I hope that makes sense. So let's go here, and I'm telling it text is equals to new message. Then sending is equals to true. So this is nothing but an illusion that I'm trying to create. This is nothing but an illusion that I'm trying to create. Nothing else. Right? The main messages are this one. I am trying to simply separate the old message and update, add an illusion to it. And that illusion is nothing but whatever my input field's value is. And then I'm updating with sending true. Am I clear? That it means that whenever this action will be performed, whenever I click on enter, apart from what it does, apart from this promise being resolved, I don't care about that in this case. Whether promise is being resolved, whether it takes 2 seconds, I don't care about that. But immediately this action is performed inside the optimistic state. I am adding that message. Yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation. I don't care about that promise, how much time it takes. Let it take. That's something else. But inside the optimistic message, whatever I'm typing over there, I am updating that immediately here. Right? I hope that makes sense. Finally, after that, I know I am updating with an array. So array of messages. So on that, I'm implementing map. And individual object will be placed in message and its index will be placed in index. Now after that, I am telling it simply message or text to display me. Whatever the message or text is in optimistic state, display me that. And then over here, not message dot sending. Can anyone tell me what it means? Not message or any not something. What does that mean? You can click on file, Pramod, and then over here there's an option called as autosave. File and autosave. Can anyone tell me not message dot sending? What does it mean? What does it mean? Not. You will say, sir, not means if it is true, make it false, then make it true again. So then it was already true. So why are we using not? Anyone? Not message dot sending. What does that mean? Anyone? Think about this and tell me, what does not mean? What would be the impact of not? Anyone? Meanwhile, you figure out the answer. You can see over there, I am simply telling it not message dot sending. Then in that particular case, simply send true. What does that mean? You can clearly see when the real update is happening, when the real function, which is send message, is happening. At that point of time, I'm simply sending text to send message. So the objective that I'm adding to that, I'm not adding the sending part. I'm not adding the sending part. But over here, when the optimistic update is happening, at that point of time, I'm adding sending only, which means we know sending will be only true once the optimistic value we have. So in this, once the state is updated, the optimistic state then only displays small, otherwise don't. Right? So I hope this is completely understood. Like we are trying to display an optimistic value here. Do we have any questions with this? Give me a quick confirmation. You can clearly see it's working. After 2 seconds, it will display this. Am I clear? Am I clear? Yes or no? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation. So you can clearly understand what's happening over there. What does optimistic mean? And I can guarantee you one thing, to a fresher, these things will be asked. New React version changes will be asked because they want to see whether you are keeping yourself up to date or not. So this use optimistic, use transition, use action state, or this forward ref. And there are some other things as well which we will discuss in some other discussion of React because there are some prerequisites that we have to understand first, right? I hope this makes sense. So what are we doing over here? We are optimistically displaying something. Whatever message or text is, and this message or text is being updated within the optimistic. So this is optimistics that I'm trying to display, nothing else. Right? I hope that makes sense. In the meantime, when it is updated, when if we have any error, for example, let's suppose there's an error. What kind of error we have? Let's suppose I am trying to get form data dot get something like this. Let me add R here. Do we have any input field whose name is this? Of course not. Of course not. So in this case, let me try to go here and let me try to go and display this. If I click on hello, my name is Adfar, and I click on send, you can see it is sending. But then after 2 seconds, it's vanishing. Why? Although we can attach a proper error to it, but why it vanished? Because after 2 seconds, my state in that there's no input field whose name attribute is what I implemented here. But optimistically, it displayed me the data. Optimistically, it displayed me the data. But after 2 seconds, it vanished. So optimistically, it added this message. So you can see optimistically, it added this message over here. This texted new message was done. Sending was made true. But later on, after 2 seconds over there, once we try to update this one over here, we did not have the input field. Am I clear? Am I clear? I hope now it makes sense. So, of course, these things are a little bit difficult to digest. Because I lost the entire database, Adil. There was a query that I executed on my database, and unfortunately, I lost every single database, not just a variable was. Every data that I had in all the databases on that account, I lost everything. So we have to be very careful now on. That's why we have a lot of other concepts. We have data backing as well. We have we try to create microservices for different what is this called services that we provide. So there are a lot of other things that we can do to maintain the scalability of our web application, right? And unfortunately, I did not do that for variable verse, and I will even not do that right now. I will do it later on. But I hope that whatever we discussed in today's class, it's completely understood. Am I clear? Am I clear, guys? Do we have any questions? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat before we close our today's session. Meanwhile, all the students who are part of our project groups, we will have a meet on Wednesday. I will have a meet with 2 to 3 groups on Wednesday, then meet with 2 to 3 groups on Thursday. Okay. And over there, we will set up our expectations and I will also give you the details of your projects. So make sure that if you want if you want to be proper part of that group project, you have to join that meet. If you don't, you will be removed no matter what. If your attendance is 100%, does not matter, right? Now, not Rohit asking not. I will tell you what not does. Not, for example, let me simply say, let's simply say there's a situation, Rohit. Name is equals to adfar. Okay, name is equals to adfar. Then I write a condition if name. Is name true? Is name true? Of course, name is true, but it's a string. But if I want to make it true, what will I do? I will implement not, then not. So name is a string true. It's a truthy value. But in order to forcefully make it a Boolean value, we implement two nots. Does it make sense? I hope this makes sense. Like Ankit is a string. Now I store in a variable. To that variable, if I want to make it Boolean, I will implement not, then again not. So it is two nots to Ankit. So two nots to Ankit makes it Boolean. So it's a strict Boolean that I'm trying to implement. React Native is for mobile development. Yes, I am right now working with React Native Summit, and definitely once I create few applications myself is using React Native, definitely I'm going to launch a course on it. 100% sure. But see, I will tell you one thing. Launching courses needs motivation, right? And that motivation is going to be there if I see I am getting a complete support from all of you. I don't think I'm getting that. Like, no one is supporting me on this. You are putting comments, that's it, nothing else, right? So if you really want to support, please create posters for me, put it on the internet, let people know. That's what you can do. At least that's what my fees would be, right? So if you can do that, of course, there will be many more courses that I'm going to launch on it. I'm going to help you. I'm going to mentor you myself. And that's what I'm even doing right now as well, without asking anything for return. But it's time to give me something in return, right? But unfortunately, no one is doing that. So please recommend it to your friends, to your college groups. Put the link there and let them know how good of this course is, if it is. That's what only thing that I need, right? Right now, everyone learning from your channel. No one is learning from my channel. Only these 24 people. That's it. If that would have been the case, I think there would have been right now 100 at least here watching this channel, right? I don't want to do that. If I start uploading small videos, Adil, it will be like a other channel, regular channel. Like there are already hundreds of videos, thousands of videos, I mean, millions actually, on Merl Stack. I want to give premium content. Perfect. I guess we are good with our today's session. It was a great session. Give me a quick feedback in the chat section. And let's see what we can do. My two batches are closing on Monday and then what's this called Tuesday. And after that, I am free for a week. So for that week, we will try to make best out of, for this YouTube channel. Let's hope that is the case. Let's hope that there are a lot of people that can come on this channel and they will get benefited. Let's hope that. So I hope you have enjoyed the session. Address sheet, I will try to, get the address from the Google Forms, because on website I have lost the data, unfortunately. But from Google Form, I will try to extract and share it, okay? You were JavaScript, hopefully, Samit. Hopefully. Thank you guys. Give me a confirmation, like React 19. Are these things understood? Quickly. Right? I hope you have understood these React 19 features. There are a lot of other features as well. Not a lot, but few. And those will be discussed once we discuss React efficiency. Tomorrow, we are going to discuss use callback hook, use memo hook, and memo. These things Three things we are going to complete in tomorrow's class. Make sure that you join tomorrow's class same time, but everyone, get everyone here and let them know what we are doing. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Please practice, Rohit. Please practice. It's already available on YouTube. You can practice it later on. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have marked the address on website. If not, in that case, mark the address from the what is it called, Google form. Find the link on the internet or somewhere you might have it stored. If not, see you in the next class. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. Good night. See you. Bye. Good night, guys. Good night, everyone.